Okay, so because I shared it, I'll begin um, from the parts that we have already covered by summarizing them a little bit, and then we go to the detail of the ending part that we are supposed to do. So the first verse, what it is about is, I'll just read out verbatim how it has been translated in the 2-3 English lines that Yoganandaji has written. It says, Dhritarashtra said, on the holy plain of Kurukshetra, which is called Dharmkshetra Kurukshetra, when my offspring and the sons of Pandu had gathered together, eager for battle, what did they, O Sanjay? So it starts with this translation, and maybe I can start with this, where Yoganandaji says there are three kinds of battles of Kurukshetra which are going on inside of us. I feel this is very important to understand because it describes the entire chapter that he has written, because he has covered these three, I feel, these three battlefields separately. So first is, he says, the material and moral struggle between good and evil, right and wrong action on the sensory plane of Kurukshetra, right? Then he says there is a psychological war being waged inside of us between the mental tendencies and inclinations of manas, pulling the life and consciousness outward towards matter, where we are attracted to the outside world, and the pure discriminative tendencies of buddhi inside of us. Okay, and the third is the spiritual battle. Today we'll go more into the detail of the spiritual battle. These two we have covered, so I will go briefly, I'll cover these again. So first battle that is taking place inside of us is between the, Yoganandaji starts with this, between the Kurus, the Kaurav, they are the wicked, impulsive, mental and sense tendencies. They are on one side, and then the sons of the virtuous Pandu, the pure discriminative tendencies, gather together on Dharmkshetra of Kurukshetra, which is the bodily field of activity. This is the first battlefield that is taking place, and to just explain it a little bit more, it could be the battle between self-control and sense indulgence. It's like discriminative intelligence on one side opposed by mental sense tendencies. It could be about, like the discrimination might say that this much is enough for me, and the sense inclination might say that, oh no, I want a little bit more, right? And then again, another comparison point can be spiritual resolve in meditation contested by mental resistance and physical restlessness. The body might feel restlessness, that I don't want to even sit down, right? And he describes it also as ignorance, battle between ignorance and, there is a divine soul consciousness on the other side. Okay, so, and then he moves on to, I feel this again is a very important concept of buddhi inside of us. Buddhi is the pure discriminative intellect. So this is the battlefield taking place inside of us. And if buddhi was in the governing seat, we would make better choices, right? So we are going briefly over this. And the concept of Sanjay also is extremely important. Sanjay, he says, is who is not self-centered, has the ability to see clearly and be impartial. So that kind of introspection is very essential, because this verse is about a daily introspection and reflection on ourselves, that during the day when the battle raged inside of us, which side won. So even to see that, we would need a calm introspection of Sanjay. So we would need buddhi, and we would need the ability to see clearly, right? He also important is when he defines that the crux of Bhagavad Gita is self-realization, which is the realization of man's true self, which is the soul, as made in the image of God, one with the ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss of spirit. Right? So, well, this we can skip. The other way in which this battlefield is described is on the basis of gunas inside of us. So there is the sattva, which is like the which drives us towards good action, or tamas, which drives us towards inertia, and rajas, he describes it is it creates it movement either toward sattva or towards tamas, right? Sattva he describes as positive attributes of like truth, purity, spirituality, and tamas are the negative attributes of darkness of evil. And all of these gunas also play out in different ways in the senses, for example. So these are different fields of action are described for the gunas to act in. It could be inside the energy field inside of us, or it could be inside the sense tendencies. It could be inside, we can see it in terms of the action that we are doing, in our like legs are one, the arms are one through which we do action. So it can be defined in terms of either of the expression of it could be defined either in terms of the senses, the sense expressions, or even inside us through the cerebrospinal axis and the astral field. Okay, and this one we went into the last session that we went into, that if so the battle is between the bodily kingdom being ruled by ego or by soul, right? So this also Yoganandaji has gone into very beautifully, where he has gone into this. If the soul is ruling over any of these states of ours, like eyes or ears, and then what would be our behavior? Like, for example, the eyes will see the good in everything if the soul is ruling, and the ears will become will have the ability to listen to the truth and not be inclined towards just flattery, only having friends around us who can only say good things to us, right? So and this as I was sharing earlier, this I'm going to put as a meditation, because we did the meditation last time and somebody requested that we would like to have a recording of it. So I have already recorded the meditation and I'm going to put it on the on my channel, so you can all see it from there. So I am just going into the generality of this verse, as in the battle which is taking place inside of us at different levels. The psychological levels, in which our mind might say that I want to do this, and the good tendencies might say no, I want to do this, right? So it could be like, oh, I want to sit for meditation, or it could be low, no, my body is feeling too restless, I don't want to meditate, right? So that psychological battle is going on inside of us. That was one level of battle that is going on. And as I said earlier, that like that is a very good way to like look at the different ways in which the struggle is taking place inside of us. And today we will go into the detail of the spiritual battle that is taking place inside of us, and that's also extremely interesting. And for me, as I was reading it again before this, and I really felt that I was connecting to it more and more deeply into what Yoganandaji was saying. I might not have experienced it to the level that Yoganandaji describes. He describes it to the level of samadhi, and I have not experienced that, but somewhere the way that he describes it, it's like hearing about like even saying that it's about a country that we have not visited cannot completely describe it, because it would be the same like physical plane and it will have different things. So even the comparison to a country does not describe it fully, but it is, I can say that when he describes it, and in those descriptions, we can see what are the possibilities for us. So, with the spiritual battle that goes on inside, and if we were victorious, what all is possible? He goes very, very beautifully into the stages he has described of how much restlessness we will experience or how much calm we are experiencing as we are progressing on our spiritual journey. I really found it fascinating. Like, he says, like, you guys can see for yourself which stage you guys are in, है ना? It's so interesting. He says the first stage would be like always restless, never calm. So restlessness is in the body doesn't want to sit still, or the restless in the mind where there is too many thoughts. Or the second stage, he says, could be part of the time restless, part of the time calm. So there's some calmness which has started to come in. And the third stage that he describes is most of the time calm and occasionally restless. Okay? And fourth state would be always calm and never restless. Right? I feel like he has described it so well. And before that, he describes where the restlessness comes from. Okay, so this is the line which I'm going to read verbatim because he's written it so beautifully. So long as man concentrates wholly on the changing waves of the alternates of this world of relativity, they are focusing on what is happening outside, just focusing on that, and it always keeps changing, as we have observed in our life. So long will he forget to re-identify himself with the underlying changeless sea of all protecting spirit. As we connect to that sense of our soul identity, that's what Yoganandaji is saying, then only we are able to touch something which does not change. Because as we remain invested in our outside, whatever is happening outside, sometimes we'll be happy, sometimes we'll be sad, sometimes we'll be anxious, sometimes we'll be all of those different emotions which will come. And after that, he goes into the stages that I talked about. So he says, identification of the consciousness with the alternating waves of change is known as restlessness. Right? So there is change happening outside, and we are so identified with it that we keep on changing inside of us as we are observing it. And identity with changelessness is calmness. And how that identity with changelessness can happen only when we start stationing ourselves within. And this is the process that he goes into the last part of the description of the verse 1, and I feel that's like fascinating to go into. Right? So I'll yes, Mandeep, you want to say something? I, just please allow me to take the question later, because as this is being recorded, I'm not able to hear you. So may I take the question later if there is a question? Yeah, I'll just come back to it. Yeah, so I'm just doing it for the benefit of everybody who has missed. Yeah, so that they can also. So I'll just come back to it. So I feel here also he's described it very well, where he says that under the control of, thank you, under the control of ego, again, because I feel this is like so fascinating, the restlessness and the stability which he talks about. It's very nice to like see this description. He says when we are ruled by the ego, the body kingdom is in state of restlessness. Okay, and with restlessness comes the eclipse of buddhi. Buddhi, which we talked about. Buddhi is the ability to see what is good, what is bad. So he says the sense mind under complete control of ego and desire makes no effort to fight evil and to bring back to the noble general calmness as the protector of the fortress of life. Right? He says in the second battle, king's soul attains temporary victory. So sometimes there will be calmness. Again, which we went into in the earlier sessions, the battle is between the ego and the soul, or who is ruling the bodily kingdom. Okay? And in the third stage, he says the general calmness has come because of the repeated meditations that we are doing. He talks about, that it will really help to curb down the restlessness as we meditate more and more. And in the fourth stage, of course, the peaceful soul is ruling because we have been meditating so much. Yeah. So just a moment, I'll pause this and I can take the question. So yes, we come to the next part. He has titled it, as Yoganandaji has titled it, as the method of attaining victory. Like it really feels like, as we were discussing even now, that it feels like victory if we could go from restlessness to changelessness. That calmness, that sense of calmness, if we can go to, that would certainly be a victory. So, one he says that by consistent right thoughts and actions in harmony with the divine law, the soul of man ascends slowly in the course of natural evolution. I think all of us who are together today discussing this, talking about this, all of us are there where we are in awareness, and that is why we are interested in listening to this more. We are already on this path, that we are looking at ourselves and we are saying, okay, what is it that I can do different, right? So I feel like we are already there. At least I can say that about all of you. I know all of you, right? And then he says the importance of meditation, by which, now this is also very interesting, by which the flow of consciousness is reversed from matter to spirit. I feel that's very interesting to see. Through the same cerebrospinal centers of life and divine consciousness that channel the soul's descent into the body. This is the chakra system, and the soul, if you imagine, descends from the top of our head and, as in takes a place inside of us, inside this bodily kingdom. And then how can we withdraw that consciousness which has gone to the matter, to the outside world, and bring it back towards ourselves, right? So it just sounds maybe a little bit intellectual or a little bit difficult to understand, but we will try to even do it in practice. As I said, it will go into a meditation also. So maybe many of us have also experienced it in meditation, and some parts that sometimes we experience a peace and which is not at all based on what's happening outside. So he says, so even he says the novitiate meditator quickly finds that he is able to draw upon the spiritual power and consciousness of the inner world of soul and spirit to enlighten his bodily kingdom and activities. He says as the yogi's consciousness moves ever upward from body consciousness to cosmic consciousness, he experiencing the following. I feel that's also beautiful to see that what will we experience if our consciousness is going within rather than being stuck in the world outside. First, he says that it strengthens his resolve to find God through self-realization. He no longer wishes to remain identified with worldliness, subject to the limitations of the body and delusions of nature's opposite of life, death, joy, sorrow, health, disease. I think that is why all of us are here. So I think we are all interested in, going to this, the next level of this. With newly awakened discrimination, the yogi is able to free his consciousness from egoistic attachment to his earthly possessions and his little circle of friends, me and mine. Yeah. His motive is not a limited and negative one of denial, but a natural expansion towards all inclusiveness. Yeah, I feel like widening the circle of inclusion. That's what Yoganandaji is talking about. He severes limiting mental attachments. So he's saying expanding oneself from a narrow circle of people to a wider people. Maybe we become all inclusive for all of mankind, feeling love for all of mankind. Second, Yoganandaji says, though the yogi finds his consciousness free of all external attachments, it still clings tenaciously within to body consciousness. So first he said ki withdrawing it from the outside attachments to possessions, to people. Second is from the body itself, that there is an attachment to the body and there is identification to the body, and overcoming that. Third, he says, he tries to silence the internal and external body sensation so that his thoughts may focus solely on God. Like, I feel like that's very hard to imagine for, all of us or me. Ki, okay, like how does one silence the body sensations? But that is the next stage. Fourth, he says, by pranayama, the yogi learns to quiet his breath and his heart, right? He withdraws his attention and his life energy into the spinal centers. Just like I was saying earlier, this is a path I feel Yoganandaji shows. And like, even if we have not experienced it, like one can kind of like see that, okay, maybe this is possible. Like, to not being able to feel the sensation, and what it would be so calm to be that, not being able to feel, the beating of the, quite the heart, for example, and that would be like, again, so calming to quiet the breath. And fifth stage, Yoganandaji says, when the yogi can quiet his heart at will, he enters super consciousness, right? So, like, one has not experienced it, but it's good to see that, okay, those could be the stages as one meditates. And like he has mentioned somewhere that the bliss that one experiences there's like no match to that bliss. And one can imagine that. One can actually only imagine that. So that would be something. So उन्होंने स्लीप स्टेट से भी डिस्टिंग्विश करा है. इन द स्लीप स्टेट द हार्ट स्टिल वर्क्स पंपिंग ब्लड थ्रू द ब्लड वेसल्स while the senses are asleep. While in meditation, the yogi consciously withdraws his attention and energy from his heart, muscles, and senses. These all remain as though sleep, but he has passed beyond the subconscious sleep state and of mental awareness into super consciousness. I feel that's how it must have been possible that the rishis could, our ancient rishis could meditate for years and years without eating and without any movement at all. They would I'm sure this is how it happened, that they went into a super conscious state where the attention was completely withdrawn from the bodily organs. Yeah, so I feel it's very interesting to read as the possibilities of what can happen, and to know that how much is still left for all of us to do, and what would it be like if we were to experience that super consciousness. At least I feel if we read about something, there's a desire for it, at least, even if it is a little bit, some aspiration for it does come when we talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, so this is where Yoganandaji talks about moving the consciousness into the different centers, right? And now this is what I'm going to go into the meditation now, like I said. So this we will experience meditatively, where we are going to station our attention on the different chakras. This is what Yoganandaji has gone on, and I will include what Yoganandaji has also described in the meditation process, like I did the last time. Yeah, so I'd request all of you to sit comfortably and like keeping your back straight and getting ready for meditation. Renuji, just please, like I will not be able to hear you because I'm recording it. So could we go into it later? So like we can just start the meditation now. Or let me just pause it then, just a moment. Okay, just a moment. Yeah, so just please, everyone, please sit comfortably with your back straight and closing your eyes and taking your attention to your breathing. We'll pray for Yoganandaji's guidance in this meditation. And just keeping your attention on your breathing. Letting your breathing be slow and deep. Whenever your attention goes to any thought of yours, so just bring it gently back to your breathing. All of the combined energy of all of us and Yoganandaji's blessings would help you to connect to this peaceful place inside of you where you can connect to yourself as energy very easily. So, trusting the process and staying with your breathing. And now, as you breathe, I would like all of you to focus on the base of your spine, where the root chakra is. This is the point which you are sitting on. As you breathe, imagine that you're sending your breath to the root chakra. As you focus your attention on this center, you're bringing your consciousness to this center. You have withdrawn it from the outside world, like Yoganandaji was explaining, and you have brought it to this center. So we are actually practicing it now. So by focusing your attention on the base of your spine, you're placing your attention on the root chakra. Yoganandaji also calls the earth center or the coccyx. And with this, we can internalize that all of the matter which is solid is composed of life force, prana, the atomic and subatomic energy, which is prana. All of it is made of vibrating particles. So, in this center, internalizing, all of the solidity is actually vibrating particles. And then as you breathe, bring your attention to the second chakra, which is at almost the level of your belly button. Yoganandaji calls it sacral or water center. Just focusing on the center. You can even imagine that as you're breathing, your inhale is going to the center. As you connect to this center, you connect to the water element, and you can internalize that all of the liquid forms are composed of rivers of electrons of the subtle life force. All of the water, liquid, is also composed of vibrating particles. And the third center now, focusing on this center between the heart chakra and the second center. And as you focus on it, Yogananda calls it number or fire center. Here one can internalize, because this is the fire center, that all forms of light are made of the cosmic fire of prana. Seeing even the fire being made of these vibrating particles. Then focus on the heart center. As you're breathing, imagine your breath is going to this center. Yoganandaji is calling it the dorsal or air center. And then seeing that all of the gaseous forms and air are also made of pure prana. And let yourself focus on the throat center, which is a cervical or ether center. And there, in the subtle etheric background, the background in which everything is seen, the bodies, the material play is seen, the screen of it is also made of sparks of cosmic intelligent life force or prana. This is like the screen on which the entire play of life is happening. So Yoganandaji says even that is made of life forces of prana. And then letting your focus be between the point between your eyebrows, which is the medulla center. So this knowing comes that all matter, energy, and intelligent prana is composed of thought force. So all of that which is responsible for the creation of the picture of life as we see it, through the action of earth, water, fire, air, ether, all of it is made of prana. And with that, let your awareness rest on the top of your head. And just resting it there, just feeling how that feels to you. Just resting your attention on the top of your head, feeling how that feels. I choose to align with the soul consciousness, making this choice. Just last 1 minute of aligning with the soul consciousness in this meditation. And slowly you can come to the contact of your body on the seat that you're sitting on, coming to the awareness of the space that you are in. And slowly you can choose to open your eyes whenever you feel ready. With this, we come to the end of the first verse. May the wisdom of the first verse, as explained by Yoganandaji, integrate deep within you. Thank you, friends, for joining.